I'll start recording now. Okay. And we've got some letters Joseph sent me. Barry Jones, I think it's just Mr. Barry Jones, I think. Let me have a look. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know. Might not have time for all 6. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Okay, let me just drag this over here and sort this out, and I'll do a screen share and we'll have a look. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll put the changes on, I'll save the changes. Let me just, hang on, let me just turn on the share. So, right, can you see that now? Yeah? Can you see it? Okay, good, good. So what I'll do then, I'll save the changes and I'll put it on easy class a bit later on. Okay, so letter 1, this is Barry Jones, Dr. Asher. Okay, so as you know from the case notes, we are requesting occupational assessment of Mr. Jones's work, so we can return after an injury. So I want to request an assessment of workplace for Mr. Jones, whose clinical features are consistent with a back strain. Well, okay, you could use that, but we know he's got a back strain because you have examined him, so it's not a mystery. We don't really, we don't really know about that. You could simply say he has a back strain, he's been off work, he wants to come back. That's the so assessment of workplace. I'd be tempted to put in that introduction, exactly why you want the person to assess it. You want it assessing because he wants to go back. He wants to go back to work. So I would put that in the introduction. Okay. Mr. Jones, which is part of a travel large warehouse, that means requires prolonged sitting and occasional heavy lifting. Back injury, heavy box off work previously. He was diagnosed as a back strain. I advised him with. Now, you can't really advise with. You can't advise him with daily walking. You can advise him to walk, or you can advise him about, but you can't really use with as a preposition. Okay. So I advised him about or regarding, but with doesn't really work as a preposition. Okay, and emphasized an increased time. Now, an increased time, what? An increase of time or to increase time. So I advised him regarding daily walking and emphasized or okay. Emphasized an increase in. That's easier to change the sentence if we just put in as a preposition. And that's what prescribed is giving a 30 days off work certificate because it's a certificate. So it's a noun. It's a noun phrase. 1 month later, Mr. Jones is back. Still sore. His back was still sore or is still sore. We need the verb there. He was moving very. Now, there's no such word as stiffy. Well, there is, but I don't think it means what you think it does. So, very stiffly. Now, make it an adverb. So, to modify the verb of moving, make it stiffly. It was adherent to his senses despite they were very painful, or despite they were being very, despite they were very painful. Oh, okay. Therefore, I extended the sick certificate or his and increased naproxen dose or increased the naproxen dose. Okay. Today, Mr. Jones' back was well recovering. Well, I'm afraid it wasn't. It possibly might have been recovering well, but not well recovering. Now, right. I would be tempted. Why have we got too short sentences? Mr. Jones' back was recovering well with increased range of grip. Now, instead of having two short sentences here, I would have been tempted to like use something like, you know, with an increased range of movement. Make it part of a sentence with an increased range of movement. Okay. Although pain and stiffness were still continued. I don't know if we would use were still continued. He was still experiencing pain, but I don't know what were still continued sounds a little bit awkward there. The pain increased when you're sitting on laying down. The first got down, work. So you've got two short sentences. Why don't you use relative pronouns, that, which, who, whom, whose, to join these sentences? Or some kind of conjunction, and, so, but, instead of having very short, simple sentences. Ferdinand got down, returned to his work because he bored. Again, a missing verb. Because he was bored, or he is bored. Well, no, we'll say is, because he's still bored. Okay, because he's bored, discouraged, and restless. In light of the above, I refer Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, you refer Mr. Jones to assess his workplace. Well, he's not assessing it, is he? He's not assessing it. You are referring Mr. Jones's workplace to be assessed, but that's not the same thing, is it? You are requesting an assessment. So in light of the above, I mean, yeah, what do you say here? I'm writing to request an assessment of a workplace. So here it reads like you are referring Mr. Jones to assess his own workplace, and that's obviously not the case. I refer Mr. Jones's workplace for assessment. That might work. Because I don't want to rewrite all this. With no lifting and regular breaks. Well, you can't assess somebody's workplace with no lifting and regular breaks. That's not part of the same sentence, is it? You need to say something about Mr. Jones, you agree he can return to work provided his workplace is assessed, and he has to avoid lifting and regular breaks. So the way that sentence is constructed doesn't really work. It doesn't really, you know, needs a bit of reworking there. So not so bad. I think it's mainly word order that you need to have a look at here in this, okay? Word order, that's what you need to do. Okay, let's have a look at this next one. Oh, somebody have any comments? What was that? No? Okay. Mr. Barry Jones. So this is Dr. Rasher. Okay, what's this? Dr. Corey Foster. All right. I'm writing to request a workplace assessment for Mr. Jones, a patient with whom seems to be back pain. Occasions, heavy lifting. That's pretty good. That would certainly do the job. Mr. Jones first came to practice March on. Well, right. Now, in terms of prepositions, if it's something like a month, you have to use in, because it's an unspecified period within that month. So in March. I mean, March, I would put the complete date. I would use the complete date. Anyway, in March 2015, referring that 4 days prior to the back trauma works. Well, I think heavy box off the floor, next revealed no disc problems. Okay, they severe low back strain was made, that's good. Oh, okay, for the days leave from work. First consultation, Mr. Jones has come back on free. separate occasions for follow-up. You've got continuously improvement that's been observed. So things with favorite players get better. It still doesn't get to what I say now. Okay, now this is right. Well, for one thing, we don't need that. And the second thing, this is a long sentence. Right? This is a long sentence. Since the first conversation has come back, 3 separate occasions, followed so 1 clause, 2 clause, 3 clauses, 4 clauses. That's too long. Needs breaking up into a couple of sentences. And that's what we need to sort out. Patient business activity is doing so it's work each day. Okay, so that paragraph's good. It's just that's too long. You know, we need to break that up into 2 sentences. Has now requested to go back to work and was given, not well, right? And who actually gave it? Well, you gave it. You gave permission. You know, I would put in that there's no need to make that passive. Given the but was what the validity regulates throughout the working day, assessment regarding this. So that's pretty good. Pretty good. As you see, I haven't made a lot of changes there. Just that preposition needs changing, and that verb form there needs changing, and that sentence is a little bit long. Okay, that's all we need to change. So not too bad, not bad at all. Number 3, Huda. Okay, Miss Barry Jones, Mr. Jones, forklift driver recently from severe low back injury, or put a severe low back injury for assessment would be appreciated. Your further assessment of what? Now, do you mention it? Okay. So you've got to, it's a good idea to put it in the introduction, your further assessment of what? Okay. Oh, someone is asking a question about in or on. Right. Prepositions of time, of location, right? If it's a month, it can't be on, because a month has 28 to 30, 30 days, right? We don't know exactly when. So you can't say on. You can say on if it's a particular day. So I will see you on Tuesday, the 25th of March. Or I'm going on holiday sometime in March. I'm taking my OET exam in March, not on. On is for a particular day. Yeah? So you can say at, right? So I'm having a seminar at 9 a.m. on Monday, the second week in January. Okay, so if it's a month, in, not on. On is only for the day. So, front it to me with deteriorating low back pain for days duration after lifting a heavy object at work. That's for scalping, diagnosed with stability in back muscles. I'd like to take a rest. Yeah, that's pretty good paragraph. Very good. In the next 2 visits, or on the next 2 visits, Mr. Jones reported a gradual improvement. Pain despite stiff movement as a consequence of watching those. I put his user possessive, and sick leave was extended until showing right now. You've got to be careful here because it's so this seems to refer to the sick leave until, right? So we need to make it clear until he showed a significant improvement, because the grammar of the sentence seems to imply the sick leave was extended until the sick leave was showing. So that's not what we need. So that's better. On today's visit, Mr. Jones reported significant recovery with an increased range of movement. Please note, but he's not gone back to work though. So we can't have this here, right? We can't have this here because he's not gone back to work yet. And he's not going back until the reader of this letter is going to assess the workplace. So it's not happening. So that's out of sequence, okay? So that needs a bit of changing. I suppose your question about review performance is not for his workplace. Yeah, so as in the previous one, you could put something like, he's requested to go back. I approve it as long as you assess it first and he avoids lifting and taking regular breaks. Okay, so that's the order you can do it. So that needs a little bit of reworking there. Okay, because it doesn't quite fit. So Ahmad, let's have a look at this one here. Mr. Jones, the patient suffering back pain in the workplace, and opinion regarding duties, can he perform, or he can, what duties he can perform. Excellent. Mr. Jones, we don't need that period after Jones, and if you do, you've got to be consistent. So you can't have it, not have it, not have it, you know? If you're going to do it, at least be consistent. So, introduction is good. Married with 3 children. Okay, and that's important because it's not. So, this isn't. Not really. Now, third person S verb, he works. Okay. Huge, simply enormous. Well, does it matter? If it's huge, ginormous, okay. All that's important is he's a forklift driver. And he sits down, sometimes he's got to lift things. Okay. Mr. Jones presented with a history of back pain, I think he works at work, was diagnosed as a case of severe. Now, I've seen this in several letters. Sever, S-E-V-E-R, means to cut. If you're talking about pain, severe, intense, S-E-V-E-R-E, okay? On review, 4 weeks later, back pain continued, was associated with stiffness, days, extended, that's good. 1 month ago, the patient reported improvement of back pain and walking, so his back movement did not get well. Did not get well, I think, now, did not get well, that's not very accurate, it's not very good, really, is it? His pain improved, but his back movement did not. So you could say his back movements were like showed no improvement or showed no change or something such as that, but did not get well doesn't really work. It's not very good in terms of structure. It's a bit awkward. At that point, I'm going to increase the dose of naproxen. Okay. Patient stated that his back pain has improved. So, okay, now, instead of simply saying he feels discouraged, you need to say something like, however, despite, it's because you're showing a contradiction, contrast. Yeah? So, you're saying, well, he's improved, blah, blah, blah. So that is positive. Now we've got a negative sentence, so we need to show some kind of contrast. Yeah, so something like however would do fine. Okay, however, in contrast to his physical improvement, he's discouraged, restless, and don't forget third person S verb, requests a return to work. In light of the above information, he may return to work if he gets regular breaks, his duties do not include lifting. I'll be grateful of you, well, I'll be grateful if you could make an assessment of the workplace and give us using that the patient can execute. I won't use execute, I would use perform, that's a little better in terms of a verb. Okay, so not too bad, not too bad. You can see changes that I've made there, yeah? Word order, third person S verb, yeah? What was it here? Requests, third person S verb again, works. Don't forget that. And just a little, did not get well. That's a bit informal. That's not so good. Showed no change is better. Contrasting adverbs. I mean, so the reason why I would do that is because, you know, you've got a positive. Oh, he's improved, blah, blah, blah. And then he feels bad, sad. So you need something to, you know, to point it out. However, although despite his physical improvement, he's discouraged, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So I'd have a look at that. What's his next one? Dr. Shakir. Okay. Workplace sentence, Jones, sentences are, well, they're not suggestive, really. It's definitive. So you've got to watch what you're doing here, because, you know, you're not making a provisional diagnosis. You have made a complete one. You said, you know, he's got a bad back. There's no, well, maybe suggestive. The diagnosis is definitive one. He's got a bad back. So that's not so good. Signs and symptoms, we don't need that. Now, you only use this kind of phrasing when you're not sure or when you're writing for further assessment and a definitive diagnosis from a specialist, right? So your provisional diagnosis of the patient would be blah, 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 okay? And you want them to confirm or deny your diagnosis, yeah? So we already know he's got a bad back. That cannot be disputed. So this is redundant, this phrase here. So that's not so good. Examiners would not look kindly at that because it seems like misinterpretation of the notes, which I'm sure that's not true. Anyway, Mr. Jones presented, followed a history of a pain with headaches at work and the pain worsened. What does that mean? Well, how can the pain worsen? So he's saying, okay, he presented with a history of a back injury and the pain worsened. What? The pain worsened when he presented? The pain worsened afterwards? That doesn't make sense. We don't know exactly what you're talking about here. And he's only had a box at work with pain or 4-day history of a back injury with a severe pain or something, but that doesn't work because it's not clear if it worsened afterwards or if it worsened before. I don't know. It's not very clear. An X-ray was performed, which showed these problems. Therefore, he was prescribed naproxen. Okay, 30 certificate. Well, it's A. It's not. When you introduce something for the first time, indefinite article, yeah? A certificate, not the, because it's not been referred to before. Subsequent visits in the naproxen dose had been increased, was increased. Why would you use past perfect? Yeah, I would just make it was increased as the pain was persistent, and he also advised, he was advised, he didn't advise himself. Yeah. Increased daily exercises. Okay, a daily exercise, I think, unless you're talking about doing more than one. Mr. Jones's symptoms, I always put plural S. Mr. Jones's symptoms. You can do it like that, but I always do it with a comma and an S. To seem to be improved, well, seem to be improved or seem to have improved. Well, we don't really need two. We don't need improved and well, right? And well is a bit informal, yeah? So Mr. Jones' symptoms seem to have, I would make it present perfect, connecting present and past, okay? I would do it like that. Seem to have improved. We don't need well. And he attends physio appointments, okay? However, he still expresses pain if he continues or lies down. 20 to 30 minutes. On examination, I found the stiffness of movement, his range of motion has improved. It said that he was one muscle at home. That's good paragraph. Good paragraph. Seem to have improved. Yeah. Based on the above, I believe, Mr. Jones, we will return to work. Well, right, will is not now. If you're talking of modal verbs, right? Will, would, can, could, shall, should. I would use could. It's possible that he could return if, because you're making a conditional sentence. Yeah. So this would be, what would this be? This would be a second conditional sentence. It's hypothetical. If heavy lifting is avoided, then he would have the ability to return. So don't make it will, make it could, because it's possible, not certain. If you use will, it's certain, but it's possible that he could, yeah? So make it could instead of will for a modal verb. Okay. If I have it and he is given regular breaks. Now, the reason why you've got to keep inserting your pronouns, and I mentioned this in the previous one, is because if you don't, where was it exactly? It seems from the structure that heavy lifting is given regular breaks, and obviously that doesn't make sense. Yeah, heavy lifting is avoided, and he is given regular breaks. Therefore, it would be great if you could assess his workplace. So that's not bad at all. The only thing I would say is this at the start, because it's not a tentative diagnosis. We examined him and he's got a bad back. It's not, suggestive. It's definite. So that's the thing. Okay, so you can see there's a bit of grammar in this one that I've had to change. Definite article, past perfect, make it simple past passive. Past tense was also advised, make it passive. So passive seems to have improved, present perfect. Verb form, modal verb, and we need a pronoun to make that sentence grammatically accurate. So I think this is letter 6, and I'll be open for questions. Somebody's asked a question: when can we use seems? When something looks like it is true, but you're not sure 100%. It seems Mr. Jones' symptoms seem to have improved. Well, symptoms are plural. Yeah, symptoms, they taken together seem to have improved, because we have a plural in symptoms. Symptoms seem. If it is singular, it seems his symptoms have improved. Mr. Jones's symptoms seem to have improved. It's all to do with, is it plural or singular? So let's continue this. Mr. Jones, assessor at the workplace, was keen to return working or return to work. Make it to plus infinitive. Afterward back injury. That's pretty good, what you say. Mr. Jones's workplace was keen to work after back injury. Mr. Jones finds which sits long times for a long time. Sits for long times. Or long periods is better, because long times you could say for a long time, but long times doesn't quite collocate, so make it long periods. And sometimes needs to carry heavy object. Initially, Mr. Jones presented with complaint of back pain. Initially, to avoid previously, I would just say go. Just to avoid, a tautology or repetition. Previously. Instead of using it twice in a sentence, change it to a go. That's his workplace. That's revealed his ex-file revealed normal. Normal what? Normal here is an adjective. So what is it revealing? You could say his X-ray was revealed to be normal, or showed, so you can't say that. Normal, normal what? Simply say his X-ray was. That's better than, because if you've got a verb like revealed, when you've got an adjective normal, we need a noun after that. His X-ray revealed normal findings. Yeah, yeah, something such as that. So either his X-ray was normal, so we've got a verb adjective, or you'd have to make it, it doesn't matter if X is capitalized. I wouldn't, because it's not a specific thing. It's like if you've got brand names of drugs, usually it's capitalized, yeah. So either was revealed normal or revealed normal findings, yeah. So adjective, we need something there. So when he was diagnosed, then he was diagnosed, then he was diagnosed, then, oh, right. I don't know about using then, at this time. Why not make it so? His eye was normal. I therefore diagnosed him, you know, instead of, instead of then. Oh, sorry, that's a bit of a yawn. So then just means at that point. I suppose you could use it, but it just seems a little bit estranged. Therefore, I prescribed painkillers, referred him to physiotherapy, and advised who? Now, this is like those sentences that I spoke of in the previous letters. If you don't have a pronoun, a subject, we're not sure who's being advised to rest. Yeah. So either I prescribed painkillers, or he was referred to physio and advised. So if we had was earlier in the sentence, we wouldn't have to put it in front of advised. Yeah. But because we don't, so I prescribed, referred refers to you, I, and advised, to make that grammatically sound, we need to have some kind of a pronoun. So advised him. So there's a couple of different ways we could have worked that sentence in. The easiest way here, to avoid me having to type out the whole thing, is simply to say advised him to rest for 30 days. After his first visit, I saw Mr. Jones monthly. He attended to physiotherapy session regularly. His condition found. It's right. It's passive, found. So it's either his condition was found or his condition improved. So we wouldn't use that. That doesn't quite work. His condition was found to be improved, or his condition improved, or seemed to be improving. Either one of those, but that's not very good. Needs rephrasing. However, he's not started working, his pain is still continuing. In today's review, they want to return working or return to work as he is bored. We need the auxiliary verb. So what's your grammar? Okay. Range of motion. Found is range of motion. Found is found, or was found, or has increased. So you've got to watch his verb forms. His range of motion has increased. Right. Got to watch the grammar. Yeah. In view of the above, Mr. Jones can start working as soon as what? As soon as he will not carry heavy. Oh, right. Mr. Jones can start working as long as. Right. So we need to change that. As long as he does not carry heavy object and has regular breaks. Right, that's better. We appreciate this workplace before he starts working. So, not bad, but we've got a fair bit of grammar in this one. A fair bit of grammar that needs to be worked on. Okay, soon, long, as an adverb, does instead of will, has, have, has increased, return to work, to plus infinitive. Auxiliary verb, that needs reworking. I'm not quite sure what that means. We need the pronoun. So, as you can see, there's a bit of grammar in this one. So, I think that's all six. That's all six for today. So, that's very good. So, I'm going to save these files. And I've got to get downstairs. I've got a student coming in a little while to the school. I have to have an interview with him. So I'm going to stop the recording. I'll put the files on Easy Class, and I don't know what I should do with the video. Do you think I should make it public, or should I just leave it for you, or what? I think I'll make it public, this one. And Easy Class members can have a session possibly tomorrow, in fact. Possibly tomorrow, because I don't have a lot on tomorrow. So we might have a session tomorrow for February. So we've got 2 examination dates in February. Is it the 3rd and the 23rd or something? We've got 2, 3 weeks apart. So what time? I don't know. I've got a company course. I'll be back so possibly at 10, so that'll be 9 a.m. GMT. So possibly at 9 a.m. unless something happens between now and then, unless I have to see a student between now and then, which is possible because people book lessons with me all the time. If someone does, then I'll have to take it because I need the money. However, if nobody does, then more than likely 9 a.m. GMT. Okay, I'll stop this now, stop the recording now, and I'll be in Telegram for a little while if anybody's got any comments or questions. Okay, I'll see you soon.